Good evening, everyone. Russell Wright. I'd like to welcome you to the Network Empire private membership area. This is some extremely exclusive content, and this short video series is just an introduction to the socially activated one web ring perpetual downstream traffic system. I want you to understand the basic overview, and so what we're going to do in this blog post is we're going to go ring by ring as a general overview, talk briefly about each of the platforms, which generally represent a type of platform, like a blog platform or a Twitter account or a Facebook account. And we're going to talk about the RSS connection to all of these. In other words, how do you automate incredibly safely your downstream traffic system? We're going to talk about ground zero content and a socially activated system. Now, to begin with, we're going to talk about WR1. And we're going to go through each one of the tabs briefly. I'm going to move rather quickly through them, but you also have access to this map, so you'll be able to click on and interact with each particular button on this graph. And this graph is subject to change as we begin to add and enhance educational process as we learn more about where the confusions are in the market. For those of you who have purchased this entire web ring done for you, we can still explain. It's a good idea for you to know what's happening when you drive your content downstream. The biggest takeaway I want for you to understand is the red arrows represent your content, and the location between these arrows, WR1, is ground zero content. And you can look at the wiki and learn more about the specifics, the clinical definition, if you will, of ground zero content. But the idea is to understand that your best content starts at the top level or at ground zero, or at the center of your web ring empire, and will be repurposed, truncated, spun, changed, altered in a variety of different ways at very low cost to you, including things like Twitter shredding and the rest, where we take painkiller articles and break them down into sentences, 30 or 40 sentences per article, and because you've written them in a painkiller article, they get 30 to 80% higher click-through rate because of the way you wrote the original article. We call this Twitter shredding. There's so many ways to repurpose content at low cost that drives traffic back upstream, that this is the main takeaway that I want to get into your brain. So if the content downstream from ground zero content location are the red arrows, then obviously the blue arrows will be the results of putting contents out there in different repurposed content, different headlines, different curated content pieces. The result will be visitors. Let's pretend the blue arrow is visitors coming back to the properties or back into the rings that the content came from, the links that the content came from. And you should be tracking this type of traffic through either through your own link shortener services or through your Google Analytics. There's a variety of different ways depending upon the environment that you're in to make sure that you track your upstream traffic that's been a result of your downstream content syndication. Automated and incredibly safe downstream content syndication. Okay, so that's the essence. If you get nothing else out of this video series, that's what I'm wanting you to understand. And with no further ado, let's just begin at step 1, building your money site. There's two steps that I want to emphasize to you that we built, and we spent a lot of time building them, to preempt or prepare you for the incredible suite of tools that we have to offer. These suite of tools include Kraken, as you can see in line C, the last keyword tool, and Domain Web Studio. All of these are being brought together in a single application called Network Empire, and there's almost nothing out there that even comes close to this. Anybody else who would build something like this would take it off the market and use it for their own market domination stuff. And we thought about that. Those of you who have been with us for years, this is why we're turning more into an exclusive community, but enough said. I'm excited about it. That's why I emphasize that we're not just making that up. This has really got millions of dollars worth of programming in it. And so I want you to have the advantage of that. But I first want you to understand step A and step B. We found that a lot of people came to keyword research, Kraken, TLKT, and Domain Web Studio, especially affiliate marketers, without any real understanding of positioning and what the human side of the web was interested in, which is a solution to their pain. We have to help you find your painkiller. And the way we do that, you can click on this in the presentation. This same presentation should be available to you in this post. If not, it should be available to you somewhere else. But you need to be able to determine whether or not you're selling a vitamin or a painkiller. That can be a service or a product. If you're selling a vitamin, we urge you to reposition the vitamin as more of a painkiller if possible. If you're already selling painkillers, that's great. But almost everything can be positioned in particular kinds of ways. And once you have that done, there's a document we have called the $4 million market research questions. When people have filled that out, they've been far more prepared to utilize Kraken, the last keyword tool, and Domain Web Studio, or the entire suite, because sometimes they buy the entire suite to work on with their clients' tools. They're 10 times more prepared, maybe more. Okay, so I urge you to click through, look at that document, and come up with an understanding about the difference between a vitamin and a painkiller, product, attitude, and position. And then, once you have that, you're ready for your unique positioning using our FAQ to SAQ Cora method. FAQ to SAQ is a system that I originally borrowed from Mike Koenig. He did some great work with the FAQ to SAQ stuff over in Traffic Geyser. We enhanced it and multiplied it by a power of 1,000. And we created a software that allows you to literally scrape Cora based on keyword clusters, themes, and keyword systems, or keyword clusters, themes, and latent semantic indexing keywords. Now, what that allows you to do is find out what questions get the most views on the internet tied to your keyword or keyword clusters. That way you can build out even more powerful should-ask questions linked to your frequently asked questions. Okay, incredibly powerful stuff. And then once you have that, your use of step C, Kraken, TLKT, and Domain Web Studio will be about 1,000 times more powerful because you will actually know the questions that are out there being asked. Okay, and you should just really, it's never failed to amaze me when people get it, when there's that eureka moment and they see how to connect actual problems and pains with keywords. I'd like to get you out of the keyword mindset and more into the painkiller mindset. And that way your keyword research can be turned into sentences that are more compelling and converting within our stackable content system that I'm showing you now. Once you've got all that and you start researching the heck out of all these keywords, when you actually do use our tools, because you've understood the painkiller and the frequently asked questions, the should ask questions are going to pop out of you from these keywords because you'll have researched them in advance rather than just treating it like a keyword research tool. This is not a keyword research tool. Kraken is a vertical market analysis tool. TLKT is a keyword tool, but even it is extremely powerful in comparison to everything else out there. Then you dump everything into Domain Web Studio and you build out your website silo architecture, which you're looking at right here, a snapshot of the original style of the Bruce Clay type website silo architecture, which helps you rank higher for thousands of keywords using far fewer inbound links. And that's your blueprint. And your blueprint can be spit out of Domain Web Studio automatically with a website blueprint. And then you can determine which kind of content you want. You can manage and outsource and organize that content right in Domain Web Studio. And we recommend painkiller articles because of the way that they help you syndicate your content downstream. You'll remember on our previous layer here that we just discussed, that content floating downstream represented by the red arrows. It's floating, but it's syndicated through RSS primarily. It's one of the most powerful ways to do it. That'll drive a decent amount of content back to your site. But as I mentioned, we also have something called the Twitter Army right out here. And the Twitter Army can have anywhere from 50 to 1,000 Twitter accounts in it. And they're all unique. And that content, you only have 147 characters to syndicate through a Twitter account. It has to be carefully done. Like, don't do this without coming to a live certification event, because you need to know how to set this stuff up properly. But if you have a painkiller article that's been sliced and diced into, say, 50 to 100 sentences, you're going to get a higher click-through rate using a painkiller article method, which is our PAM method, than, say, just creating an educational document or having some outsourcer write an article in any method. The painkiller article method is simply a way of writing an article that is more compelling because it's answering common questions and pains in a market. And when you write the article in that way, take a little extra time. When you chop them up, we call that Twitter shredding, they're going to get a higher click-through rate. And you can see it on your Bitly, you can see it on your link shortener, or if you have a company link shortener, you'll see your traffic go way up just by choosing the painkiller article method. So we do recommend as many painkiller articles as you can, but then also downstream content that's going to get syndicated downstream or out to your outer rings. It's press releases, content curation. As you all know, I've created a content curation course, and we're constantly updating that course because curation, folks, is really just, for us, it's really just another type of content. And it's just an easy way to create an abstract out of great content that's at ground zero. And that ground zero content can be curated and scooped and syndicated and passed along. Even your outsource can curate your articles for you using simple buttons and simple bookmarklets. Okay, and we show you all this at the certification event and inside the members area. You can use video transcription, sales copy, and our favorite is painkiller articles for Twitter shredding, and so you get the idea. Step F is create more ground zero content. Once you know which type of content you're going to create in your business model, then you're going to keep in mind what is ground zero. When you go through this tutorial, this flash animation, go ahead and click on ground zero content and read a little bit about what it is. And you're basically going to get a reference that talks about this type of thing here. Obviously the side benefit is page rank too. We have the green arrows in the last video that I did. Okay, we'll talk more about that coming up. Okay, and then once you have your ground zero content, what's going to have come out of most of this, the vitamin, FAQ, SAQ, keyword research, by the time you get towards the end, you're going to realize that you've crafted the ultimate golden frame. Okay, golden frame is simply the frame or the style sheet or the margin, or like where you have the categories. Let me just actually pull that up. I think it's important enough to pull up. Okay, golden frame. Here's our wiki. You can look up golden frame. I actually call it the golden frame content call to action. You know, here's a screen capture of one of our blogs. If you go over to the margin, the golden frame is you. It's anything around the content that you're able to put a banner, just like AdSense likes to put banners on people's sites. People like to put AdSense on their sites. You know, they usually put them in the margin, you know, in the style sheet. Well, this is a call to action. We only recommend on your WR1 network or in your ground zero WR1 money circle, which is your branded web ring, that you only market yourself in your golden frame. And that's the advantage of owning your own websites and platforms. Okay, you want to put your own ads up, not AdSense ads. The reason we make that distinction is because a lot of people are doing crazy things, like they're adding AdSense, you know, like on their website silo architecture blogs at their WR1. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because if you start doing the numbers on ads compared to selling your own products or even selling other products, you have a really low margin. So you got to do your margin calculations. Now, every business model is different, so I'm not saying that that's perfect for you. But the whole purpose of all of those steps, by the time you're done with your money site, you're going to understand what your keyword clusters are, what your keyword DNA is, the keywords that are predominant in your market around pains, the frequently asked questions and the should ask questions, and what kind of content is best syndicated downstream or to your outer rings, and what your ultimate one-line zinger, or you're going to have a couple of very good banners that the market responds to. That's the whole purpose of number one. Then you can move on to step two, which is build a blog. Now, yes, blogs can be money sites and money sites can be blogs. Some people, for example, decide to have a single domain with both a money site, which is an HTML website with a blog. Other people decide to go for two completely different domains, where the blog is on one IP and the website, the money site, where the transaction is, that's where your buy button is on another. And then some people actually go further and just put them on subdomains. At our certification event, we get into the differences of the hows and the whys of when and if you should do that. Step B is blog and ping. I call this frequency of publish. Is a new factor. Go ahead and click on the FOP, frequency of publish. It's simply a way to describe a new factor, which is Google looking for dynamic content density. Okay, DCD. And that just means, at least for the last few years, If a site is constantly being updated, Google thinks it means that the site is contemporary, active, and recent, and therefore deserves a little bit of better ranking, sometimes a lot better ranking. Of course, none of the other factors go away, such as unique content, keyword clustering, latent semantic indexing, website silo architecture, inbound links. All of those matter, but FOP is a factor that is incredibly important now, and you need to have some of your sites updating with real-time news curation and other things. Also, step C, consider your theme mirroring. Consider your blog's relationship to the main site. Your blog's relationship to the main site should be theme keyword to theme keyword if you're going to have them on two different domains. So we call this theme mirroring. For example, if you have a blog category that's about chocolate and you have a page on your main site that's selling chocolate gadgets, okay, you need to link to that, and there needs to be a relationship between those two pages, preferably from two separate IP addresses. Okay, understand downstream thinking before you even begin. Downstream thinking, I think I beat that dead horse, and that is simply the red arrows. Your content is syndicated downstream, repurposed in a variety of different ways which are yet to be named, and once you understand that, you're doing that so that you can get the blue arrows, which is content clicks, compelling, interesting, but incomplete calls to action through headlines that are 147 characters or less, driving traffic back to your own platforms further upstream, which are your money sites. It seems simple when you look at it, but you would be surprised at how difficult it is for people to actually learn this. Okay, and then once you've got your downstream thinking clarified within your niche and your market, you're going to create a Gmail account associated with your WR1 blog. At least I recommend that you do. Some people don't do that. I'm not saying you do not have regular email addresses. You still want your keyword at yourdomainname.com, of course. But the main purpose of getting a Gmail account is so that you can open your Google dashboard. That's google.com/dashboard. And once you've done that, it's going to be a little bit easier for you to incorporate some of the methodologies using Google Circles and Google Plus and Google Plus Biz pages if you decide to go that route. It's just good in general to have a blog account and a Google Plus account associated with your business and associated with a profile. Okay, so that's step E. Now that's just the general basics. You can also set your blog up tied to your Gmail account. There's a lot of other things that you can do with that. So, okay. Step 3 is downstream RSS feed setup. Once you have that done with one or more blogs in your primary WR1 or your web ring number 1, you're ready to start organizing your RSS feeds. You need to properly activate your RSS feeds on your blog. You need to make a list of all of your RSS feeds if you have more than one blog. Okay, and then you're going to need to properly set up your open graph images and your video thumbs on your blog's theme and RSS feed for downstream human click addiction. Again, all this is going to come together in your mind with what I'm saying. Whether you're shredding articles to be tweeted out to your Twitter army, whether you're repurposing content, whether you're curating content on Scoop It, the headline is the key. And you want to mix those headlines up. But some of those locations, such as Pinterest, okay, don't really have much to do with content per se. So when you're building a Pinterest army out in the other layer, which we also do that for you, but you can also do it yourself by taking some of our courses on it. Pinterest is really primarily interested in images, and of course you can grab an image off of a YouTube video as well. So you want to keep that in mind, that if you're going to automate Pinterest, we're working on a software right now that will automate Pinterest. None of these services like you to automate them. That's why you don't ever want to send automated content to WR1 accounts, specifically Pinterest. You don't want to send a lot of junk through to WRS1s when you're doing high volume. Okay, so we carefully buffer that for you by sending images to Pinterest through software on separate account setup outside of WR1. They are not branded like your WRS1 is. Okay, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Main thing for you to understand is that downstream thinking, whoops, I'm on the wrong one, that these Twitter accounts, these RSS feeds are very important for you to start keeping track of on a spreadsheet, and thinking in terms of images and videos being friendly to other locations that you're syndicating to. Twitter feed is an excellent service that allows you to properly grab the images, and as long as you're familiar with Open Graph, especially on Facebook, make sure that your images are showing as pop-down thumbs on Facebook, and that the videos are not playing on Facebook if they're not on your own YouTube channel. So you have to do some modifications to RSS, but just make sure that the appropriate medium is going to be seen. So for example, if you're auto posting through RSS to Pinterest, you're going to want to make sure that your open graphs are showing, especially to Facebook as well. You want to make sure that both your image and your Google is meeting Facebook's open graph standards, because you can have a click-through rate of 1,000% higher as long as you have an image on Facebook, because Facebook and Pinterest are both image driven. Okay. Then you might want to consider purchasing our One Feed to Rule Them All product to kick off all of these platforms that have RSS feeds within your WR1 web ring or ground zero. Okay. And then there is the option of the Media Wiki Glossary site. Hopefully you've been to Wikipedia, and this is a Media Wiki Glossary. My wiki generates thousands and thousands of visitors for me. I keep it updated. I consider it a service, and it's a great way to pull together authority definitions in the context of all the other blogs that you're going to do from this point out. It just looks good, gives you ranking, it gets page rank very quickly, and you can point the various definitions in the glossary to your WR1 money site theme pages to boost page rank. I love the glossary effect. Don't have to do it, but this is a branded glossary we're talking about here, because remember, WR1 means you have your brand and your logo right on it, and it's just another way of letting everybody know who you are. And you can also set up a golden frame in your wiki as well. So in this area down here, you should have some way for them to click through and have a call to action, as well as sneaky ways. You don't want to do any overt selling, but you can also, in any post when you're providing a definition, you can say also see or related definitions. And those related definitions can be related to your various products and services without being overtly salesy. Very powerful way to drive content and grasp leads. Okay, so what we've just done is we've looked at the first ring, which is your primary content ground zero downstream content location with your branded platforms that you own sitting on your servers preferably. I prefer that you even own the hosting company if you can. I know that's not really possible for you guys all to do that, but you get my point. The point is that I want you to own the technology as deeply as you can for your WR1 system so that nobody else is owning your content. Because Facebook, Twitter, Blogger, YouTube, Squidoo, these are all services that can disappear at any second. And if that was the only content you had, you're done. I knew somebody who had a Facebook account. They were running their entire business through Facebook, and that was the only thing. And they got their account banned because something that somebody else did. Don't do that. So WR1 is about branding your platforms, owning them, connecting them, and preparing to syndicate them downstream. Okay, so that you can get that traffic back upstream. Okay, go ahead and move on to the next introductory video. We're going to talk about the WRS1. Because you've got your RSS feed set up, and you've got a list of them, you're going to be really ready to start building these other platforms. You're not going to be syndicating to all of them, but I'm going to talk to you about the safety issues with syndicating to WRS1. This means a web ring, your social web ring. That's your branded social web ring. These are the platforms that you're going to own. So I'll see you right on the next video.